Good day. Welcome to SO 104, Study Session 11. Malthusian Theory of Economic Development. Introduction. Thomas Robert Malthus, whose name the famous Malthusian theory of population is associated, showed more appreciation than most of his contemporaries of the importance of distinct and systematic theory of growth. His ideas about economic development are found in the book titled The Progress of Wealth, 1820. Learning outcomes. When you have studied this session, you should be able to 1. Highlight basic deductions about economic development as postulated by Malthus. 2. List measures to promote economic development according to Malthus. 3. Discuss the main criticisms of Malthusian theory of economic development. 1. Deductions from the progress of wealth. The following are the major deductions about economic development as postulated by Malthus in his book, The Progress of Wealth. 1. The concept of development. Malthus did not regard the process of economic development as automatic. Rather, it required consistent efforts on the part of the people. He did not conceive of any movement towards the stationary state, but emphasized that the economy reached the slump many times before attaining the optimum level of development. Thus, to him, the process of development was one of ups and downs of economic activity rather than smooth. Malthus was concerned with the progress of wealth of a country. By progress of wealth, he meant economic development which could be achieved by increasing the wealth of a country. The wealth of a country depended partly upon the quantity of product obtained by its labor and partly upon the valuation of this product. The wealth of a country does not always increase in proportion to the increase in value. This is because an increase in value may sometimes take place under an actual diminution of commodities. 2. Population growth and economic development. Malthus was realistic in his analysis of population growth in the context of economic development. According to him, population growth by itself is not sufficient to bring about economic development. Rather, it is the result of the development process. Malthus wrote that an increase of population cannot take place without proportionate increase of wealth. As the rate of capital accumulation increases, the demand for labor also increases. This encourages population growth, but mere population growth does not increase wealth. He emphasized that population growth increases wealth only if it increases effective demand, and it is the increase in effective demand that leads to increase in wealth. 3. Role of production and distribution. Malthus regarded production and distribution as the two grand elements of wealth. If they are combined in right proportions, they can increase the wealth of a country in a short time. But if they are taken separately or combined in undue proportions, they may take many thousand years to increase wealth. So Malthus emphasizes maximum production and optimum allocation of resources so as to increase the wealth of a country within the short period. Four. Factors in economic development. Malthus defined the problem of economic development as one of explaining the difference between potential gross national product and actual gross national product. According to Malthus, the size of potential gross national product depends upon land, labor, capital, and organization. When these four factors are employed in right proportions, they maximize production in the two major sectors of the economy, the agricultural and the industrial sectors. It is the accumulation of capital, the fertility of the soil, and technological progress that lead to increase in both agricultural and industrial production. Besides this, Malthus also emphasized the importance of non-economic factors, politics and morals, in economic development. These non-economic factors are security of property, good administration of constitution and excellent laws, hard working by labor and general uprightness of character. 5. Process of capital accumulation. Of all the factors, land, labor, capital and organization, it is the accumulation of capital that is the most important determinant of economic development. The source of capital accumulation is higher profits. Profits come from the savings of capitalists because workers are too poor to save. If capitalists save more and spend less on consumer goods in order to have larger profits, economic growth will be retarded. Malthus suggested the concept of the optimum propensity to save. To Malthus, this meant saving from the stock which might have been destined for immediate consumption and adding to that which is to yield profit. In other words, it is the conversion of revenue to capital. Thus, its conclusion is that saving pushed to excess will destroy the motive of production. 6. Deficiency of effective demand. This view of Malthus is based on his denial of Say's law of markets and belief in the deficiency of effective demand. Malthus does not agree with Say that there cannot be a general overproduction or glut in the market. According to him, it is not at all true that commodities are always exchanged for commodities. In fact, the great mass for commodities are exchanged directly for labor rather than for commodities. Since workers who are consumers receive less than the value of the product they produce, they cannot buy all commodities. Thus, there is an excess supply of commodities in the market in relation to the demand. This gap between supply and demand cannot be filled even by the demand of capitalists. Capitalists believe in parsimony and deprive themselves of their usual conveniences and luxuries to save from their revenue and add to their capital. By being parsimonious, they employ more productive workers who are consumers and in turn are not able to buy all commodities they produce. Thus, there is general overproduction and glut of commodities in the market due to the deficiency of effective demand on underconsumption. This leads to fall in prices, profits, saving, investment and capital accumulation. 7. Economic stagnation. Malthus believed that the supply of labor is inelastic in the short run and that the supply of capital can be increased faster than the increase of population. As capitalists invest on productive labor to increase the supply of capital, wages rise due to competition. Rise in wages do not increase effective demand because workers prefer leisure to increased consumption. So there is a general glut of commodities. As a result of glut of commodities, prices fall, profits decline, investment falls, and both the power of accumulation and the motive of accumulation are strongly checked. Thus, Gluts and underconsumption will lead to economic stagnation. Measures for promoting economic development. Malthus made several policy recommendations to promote economic development. These are: balanced growth. In the Malthusian system, the economy is divided into the agricultural and the industrial sectors. It is technological progression in these two sectors that can lead to economic development. Capital is invested in agriculture until all the arable land is brought under cultivation, stocked, and improved. After that, there are no more opportunities for profitable investment in that sector due to diminishing returns, and therefore investment opportunities exist only in the industrial sector. Diminishing returns to increased employment in the land can be avoided only if technical progress in the industrial sector is rapid enough, and if investment takes place to absorb most of the population growth in the industrial sector and to reduce the cost of living of workers on the land, permitting reduction in their wage rates. Thus, Malthus favored balanced growth of both the agricultural and industrial sectors for the economic development of the country. Raising effective demand. Technical progress alone cannot lead to economic development unless effective demand increases. Malthus suggested a number of measures to increase effective demand. Firstly, by more equitable distribution of wealth and landed property. Malthus believed that a few moderately rich people can raise effective demand more than 1 millionaire poor masses. Further, he favored a more equitable distribution of landed property, for that would increase effective demand as well as production. According to Malthus, if the division of land into small properties is carried to an extreme, it will adversely affect production. Secondly, effective demand can be increased by the expansion of the internal and external trade. It is internal as well as external trade that increases wants and tastes and the desire to consume, which are absolutely necessary to keep up the market prices of commodities and prevent the fall of profits. Internal and external trade also increase the value of products by exchanging what is wanted less for what is wanted more. Thirdly, Malthus suggested the maintenance of unproductive consumers to increase effective demand. He defined unproductive consumers as those persons who did not produce material objects. It is underconsumption which leads to gluts and stagnation in the country. Therefore, production can be raised by increasing consumption. Since capitalists are parsimonious and productive workers live upon subsistence wages, unproductive consumption on the part of unproductive laborers and landlords will increase effective demand. Lastly, Malthus suggested public work schemes to remove unemployment and increase effective demand. Public works would not have the tendency to diminish the capital employed by productive labor. In summary, in the Malthusian theory, it is underconsumption or deficiency in effect demand leading to gluts which is the main cause of underdevelopment. For development to occur, the country should maximize production in the agricultural and industrial sectors of the economy. This requires technical progress, equitable distribution of wealth and land, expansion of internal and external trade, increase in unproductive consumption, and increase in employment opportunities through public works schemes. Besides, there are non-economic factors such as education, moral standards, hard working habits, good administration, and efficient laws which help in increasing production in the two sectors of economy. Thus, these economic and non-economic factors lead to economic development. Appraisal of Malthusian theory. Malthus laid emphasis upon the importance of effective demand. He pointed out the factors which hinder and promote economic development. In particular, he pointed out the importance of technological progress, equitable distribution of wealth, internal and external trade, public works program, good administration, hard work, and balanced growth. These measures have come to be recognized as the main planks of modern economic growth. Despite all these virtues, researchers like Jingan, 2003, noted the following weakness of Malthusian theory of development thus: 1. Secular stagnation, not inherent in capital accumulation. Malthus argues that the process of capital accumulation leads inherently to secular stagnation. For Malthus, there is the possibility of permanent underconsumption of all commodities. The fact is that underconsumption is not a permanent phenomenon, but a temporary one. So secular stagnation is not inherent in the process of capital accumulation. 2. Negative view of capital accumulation. Malthus' view that capital accumulation leads inherently to secular stagnation is not correct from another angle. In reality, capital accumulation does not lead to a reduction in the demand for consumer goods and fall in profits. As capital accumulation increases, the shares of wages and profits in aggregate income increases, and so does the demand for consumer goods. Thus, Malthus had a negative view of the process of capital accumulation. 3. Commodities not exchanged for commodities directly. Malthus argued that commodities are not exchanged for commodities, but they are exchanged for labor. In fact, labor is not a correct measure of commodities. In the real world, commodities are measured by real tangible prices and not by labor. 4. Unproductive consumers retard progress. Another serious weakness of Malthus' theory is that it suggests spending by unproductive consumers to overcome underconsumption and increase effective demand. This remedy is tantamount to giving money to This remedy is tantamount to giving money to unproductive workers and deliberately supporting idle persons. Such a measure slows down the rate of capital accumulation. 5. One-sided saving base. Malthus had a one-sided base of savings. He believed that it is only the landlords who save. But this is an erroneous view because the major source of savings in a society is the income earners and not profit earners. Study session summary. In this session, we discuss major concepts of Malthusian theory on economic development. The concepts are concept of development, population growth and economic development, role of production and distribution, factors in economic development, process of capital accumulation, and deficiency of effective demand. Also, we examined major criticisms of the theory. End of study session 11. Thank you for listening.